Hello, whistlers everywhere. So today we are going to do a tune breakdown of a very popular and very lovely slip jig. It's called the Butterfly. It was originally composed by a fiddler called Tommy Potts, and it's not all that old. I mean, it's fairly old, but it's not all that old in so much as that some of these tunes which we do uh, I kind of go back to the mists of time. But this tune was composed by, as I said, the fiddle player Tommy Potts. It's a beautiful slip jig, lots of nice variations that we can do. So, as usual, I'm going to play it through without any ornamentation, except I'm going to separate the notes, which are the same, with cuts. Now, if I need to take a breath, then what I'll do is I'll separate the note, if it's the same note, with a gentle with a gentle tonguing. But for now, we're going to keep things simple. I'm going to put a click on, which isn't going to be too fast, just so you can see how the beats lie. And yes, it's a slip jig in 9/8, so it's compound triple time. So we're going to set the metronome to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So it's where you would tap your foot if you were playing this. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm going to play it through. Nice steady tempo, and again I'm only going to separate the notes which are the same by cuts, or if it happens to be after a breath, I'm just going to gently tongue it. So here we go, the Butterfly. So I've set my metronome to 60 dotted crotchets, or 60 dotted quarter notes. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. So I always like to finish this tune, if we're not going into another one, and just play the last bar and end on that F sharp. It gives it a nice kind of nice finish. Yeah, it's a nice kind of finish to that. So rather than the last bar, we're going kind of just leaves it hanging. So unless you're going into another tune, what I like to do is just go. Maybe put some finger vibrato on that last note. Sounds finished that way. Okay, so if you noticed in the second part, the B part, which is the second line, instead of playing the D as the second note in the first bar, I played it as a C natural. And the same thing in the second bar, the second D, sorry, the first D in the second bar, I played as a C natural, and the first D in the third bar I played as a C natural. Now I've heard versions where they're played as written with D rather than C natural, but a lot of versions, and this version which I particularly play and like, has a C natural. I think it just sounds better. So I'm going to show you what it's like just with the D as written, and I'm going to play it as I did with the C natural. So here we go. Now with the C natural, and I think this sounds better. But you decide if you like the C natural better or you prefer the D. Just for the purposes of this video, I'm going to play it the way that I play it, and I play those Ds as C naturals. Okay, so let's have a look now. Add some additional cuts so that we can bring certain notes out. Then what we're going to do, we're going to have a look at how we can add some other ornaments. There's quite a lot you can do with this piece. So you can decide as how ornamented you want it. You may decide that you prefer it with very few ornaments, or you may like to add some of the ornaments that I do. So let's play it through now and just have a look at some cuts that we can add. So this is a 3-part slip jig, and it's got A, B and C, and all parts are repeated. So it's AA, BB and CC. So let's have a look at the first bar. And so I'm going to start immediately with a tongued cut. So I'm tongue cutting the B, playing the E, I'm cutting the G, playing the E, and I'm going to cut the F. So in slow, this is like this. Again. So there I tongued cut the B, E, normal cut the G, E, and then cut the F sharp. So again, let's just go over our cuts. So I'm cutting the B with the C sharp. So I'm cutting the G with the A. You can cut the G with the C sharp. So you can go. You choose. I prefer to do it with this A note, the G. Or you can use that C sharp. Very little difference in sound. It's just what you prefer to do. So let's have a look at the second bar now. So we've got the same thing. So we're going to cut the same notes. We're going to cut the B, we're going to cut the G, and we're going to cut the F sharp in that group of 3 notes. Like this. Let's look at joining those 2 bars up together now. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. Let's do that again. Now, tonguing wise, I just tongue the first note and let your fingers do the rest of the work. Yeah, so it's just one long continuous breath. So don't stop your breath in any way and don't add additional tonguing at this stage, it's fine. Okay, same thing with bar 3 as bar 1. So then we can cut on the last bar, we can cut the B, then we're playing the D, cutting the second D for separation, and then just play the rest out. So we're going. Let's do those 2 bars again. So second 2 bars of the A part. Now, of course, if you want to, you can separate the Ds with tonguing. But I like to use cuts on that. Right, so breathing. And we've got plenty of longer notes to breathe on. And if we can, it's better to breathe after a longer note rather than after a shorter note. That way you've got much more chance of coming back in with the next beat in time. If it's a shorter note, you may struggle. Certainly if you get to the end and you need to come back to that first beat, you've only got a short time in which to snatch a breath. So it's better to take a breath on a longer note. So where I like to breathe on this, and this will vary again for everybody, and the idea is if you need to take a breath, maybe take the breath after the longer note, and maybe just do a cut if you can, or even just play the note as it is if you can't get that cut in. So this is how it's going to work for me. And so when you return and play it for a second time, you may well need to breathe in a different place than you did the first time. So just be aware of your breathing and make sure that your breathing doesn't displace the beat or the rhythm in any way. And yes, try and make your breath part of the tune so that when you're breathing, it becomes rhythmic and it doesn't detract from the flow of the tune. That's so important. So think about your breathing. It may be different for you where I breathe, but again, the idea is if you're going to take a breath, you might just want to add a cut to that note rather than fully ornament it, or maybe even just play the note itself without doing anything to it to get the breath in time. Okay, let's have a look at the second part now. So again, I'm going to use the C natural rather than the D that's written. So the second note in the first bar, second note in the second bar, and the second note in the third bar, which are all Ds, I play as C naturals. So again, we're going to cut the first note. So let's have a look at that again. So and I'm cutting the high G. Second bar, I'm going to cut the B. Now it's difficult to get the cut after playing that C natural, and you have to tongue that note really in order to get the cut on the high G. So let's leave that one for now. So we're just going to tongue the B in that second bar. So let's do those two together. Now there are other things which we can do on that G, which I'm going to talk about later, but for now, we'll just cut the B in that second bar. So let's do it again. So bars 3 and 4. Again, we'll cut the B. Now we can easily, because we're going from the F sharp to the G, we can easily cut that high G. So slowly. And the last bar, we're going to cut the high B. Let's do the last two bars on the second line. Right, so let's do the whole of that second line now, nice and slowly. 1, 2, 3. So we're on for the C part now, which again, like the A and B, we play through twice. So again, we're going to separate those two with cuts. We're going to play the dotted crotchet B. We're going to cut, tongue cut, and then we're going to separate the second B with a cut. So it's going to be like this. Again. And then the second bar, we're going to cut the B again. And again, we will separate the second B with a cut. So cut the first B, cut the second B. And again. Now the tongue cut is quite tricky because you've got to coordinate your tongue and your finger to cut exactly at the same time. Otherwise you get a kind of mismatch. You get that. And what we want is a nice articulated on the beat cut. The tongue cut also gives it the note slightly more of an accent than a normal cut. So here we go. So next bar, bar 3 of the last line, exactly the same thing as bar 1. Then the last bar we're going to cut the B. Now you can go from the D to the high G and cut, but when you're fingering the D this way, have to make sure you get that top finger down before you cut. So slow motion. That's right. So before you cut the G, this top finger after playing the D has got to come down, otherwise you'll just squeak. And eventually with practice you'll get used to doing that. So it's just a matter of making sure that after playing the D, this top finger comes down and you cut the G. Let's do the whole of the last line now. So nice and steady. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now we've got the whole of the cuts that we're adding. Let's try it through at 60 with the metronome. So I've set my click to 60 and we're going to play through with the cuts that we've added. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Right, so now we have a version where we've got some additional cuts. Let's look at how we can further ornament this by changing some of those cuts into long rolls, short rolls, and also we can add some taps as well. On some of those notes where it wasn't easy to cut, we can add an additional tap, which sounds really nice in this tune, as you'll hear when I play it through at the end. But for now, let's take the first A part and let's look at how we can add some short rolls and long rolls to this. So previously we've been playing it like this. Which is lovely, it's fine. But we can add to that by turning the cut on the B and on the G in the first bar and the B and the G in the second bar into a short roll. So short roll, we cut immediately and then we tap with a note underneath. So with the B, we're going cut, tap. Now, what you tap with, you can either use this A finger or you can tap with the two fingers if you want. Doesn't make any difference. Have a listen. So I'm tapping with the A, now I'm going to tap with the G. Doesn't really make much difference. So as long as the tap is in time and it's a note from underneath, you'll be fine. So decide which one you want to use, whether you want to use the A tap or the G tap after the B cut. And they both work and the choice is yours. So again, making sure that we split the rhythm of the short roll into 2/8 notes or two quavers. So we've got this cut on the first quaver, tap on the second, yeah? Don't be tempted to do it in a different time, keep it rhythmic. So it's going, yeah? And we've also got that tongue on the cut. Same thing with the G. And again, if you want to cut with the top finger, that's fine. Or just use the normal way that I do it. You may want to practice that just as a little exercise. So it's short roll B, E, short roll G, E. So the first part of the first bar. So the third note, sorry, the last note, we're going to do it as a long roll. So where we cut at first, we're going to do note cut tap. So you're not going to cut the first beat of the F sharp. We're going to just play the note, cut the note, tap the note. Because it's a dotted quarter note or a dotted crotchet, we're going to do this. Note, cut, tap. So let's do the whole of the first bar nice and slowly, just to show you how those ornaments work. Cut, tap, E, cut, tap, E, note, cut, tap. And try and get those taps nice and quick. Now, if the taps aren't quick enough, you'll sound the note, so it'll sound like this. We don't want to hear the note, we just want to hear the rhythm that the tap makes. So moving on to the second bar, we can do exactly the same thing with the B and the G. And then we're going to cut as we have done with the F sharp in that group of 3 at the end of the bar. So let's do those 2 bars together. And again. Bar 3, same as bar 1, so you're just repeating the same. Now you can put a short roll on the B in the last bar, so you can go yeah, so you can short roll the B, or if you want you can just cut it. Again. So let's do bars 3 and 4 of the first line. So let's try the whole first line now with the additional short rolls. 1, 2, 3. Now, if you need to take a breath after one of those long notes, then you're not going to have time to do the short roll, because the short roll is taking up the full amount of that note value. So what you might want to do is just add a cut as you have previously done. So we might want to do it like this. So you don't have to short roll all those notes. You can cut them or even just play them plain. But the option's there. You can short roll them, you can cut them, or you can just play them. And so think about your breathing and think about where you need to take a breath. And there, in that case, it's fine to substitute a short roll for a cut and then use the rest of that note value to take a breath. Okay, so let's have a look at what we can do with the B part now. Right, the B part, again we can short roll that first B. Now when we go up to the E, so the way we've been doing it, which is absolutely fine if you prefer that way. However, we can add some other ornaments to this. So we can short roll the B, and I'm tapping on the E. And long rolling that G. So short roll the B, C natural, or D if you prefer, E, tap, and the same rhythm. So it's 1, 2, C, E, 2, F, and then G, cut, tap. So And again, make sure your tap is nice and bouncy, yeah? You don't want to hear this. Yeah, we want to hear the rhythm, not the note itself. Again. So bar 2, short roll. We can either do a short roll on the G, but it's awkward to do that because you have to stop, and when you go from the C, get that finger down and then cut and tap. So if you're finding that too difficult, and again it's really awkward, so you can just put a little tap on that G like this. Yeah. Now with the G tap, you can use one finger F sharp, or you can use the two fingers. The E you can tap, and both work nicely. I think the two-fingered one has got a stronger kind of rhythm to it. It's a more pronounced tap. But choose which one you like. So let's put those two bars together now, slowly. Again. Sorry. And again. So bars 3 and 4, again we can short roll the B, we can tap the E, so we can go. Now because we're going up from the F sharp, you can decide whether you want to tap the G or short roll the G. I usually short roll because it just sounds, to my ear, sounds better than the tap there. With the just tap on the G, with the short roll on the G. Yeah, both work fine. I just prefer to short roll. The G sounds better to my ears. So again, going up to that high B, we can short roll. So I'm high rolling, short rolling the B, and then just tapping the G as we come down. So those two bars, I'm going to play it really slowly because there's a lot going on in terms of the ornamentation there. And again, personal choice. If you don't like an ornament, then you don't have to use it. These are just ideas and pretty much the way that I play it, but you can choose to play it whichever way you want. So the last two bars on the second line. And again. And when we put it together a bit quicker, you can hear the effect. So let's try the whole of that second line now, the B part. Again, I'll play it through twice. So nice and slow. 1, 2, 3. Now, if you noticed, when I needed to take a breath, I would just cut the note rather than short roll it. And again, where you need to breathe, that's something you're going to have to take into consideration. When we play it quicker, then we won't need to breathe as much, and so we can add the ornaments that we may want to add rather than having to cut in order to get a breath. So if I'm going to play this second line a bit quicker, need to breathe as much, and so I could get more of the short rolls and the taps in. However, if you want to play it slower, and I suggest you do play it slower to start with, then yes, it's fine just to cut the note, or even just to play the long note itself without any ornament in order to get a breath. Breathing is king. Yes, it's really important that you don't displace the breath, and that the breath is part of the rhythm. I can't stress that strongly enough. Right, let's have a look at part 3. So with part 3, again, there's lots of ornaments we can add, and again, use your discretion. Use what you like. I'll show you what's possible and what I do, and I don't do it every time, but these are some ideas for ornamentation. So we're going to long roll the B, the first B, and then we're going to short roll the second B. So this is going to take a bit of practice. So let's have a look at the long roll followed by the short roll. So if we're doing it, it's going to go note, cut, tap, cut, tap. And again. Now you can put a little tap on the G as well. Slowly. Again. Now at speed you can hear the effect. So second bar, what we can do, long roll, then separate the first B with a cut. Again. Let's put bars 1 and 2 together on the third line. So tricky stuff here. Let's do that even slower. Again, make sure your fingers are nice and relaxed. You're going to struggle if there's tension in your fingers. So next bar, you can do the same ornaments as you did for the first bar because it's a repeat. Or you could just do a long roll and then cut the B. And then the last bar, short roll on the B, short roll on the high G, and then just play out the rest. Now, if you're going to struggle with that short roll on the high G, then maybe just play the note as a cut, or even just play it as a tap. play it the first time with a cut, second time with a tap on that high G. Now with the tap. Now with the short roll on the G. Again, if you're getting that finger down in time to make that cut. So let's play the last line now with those ornaments which we've put in. Nice and slowly. 1, 2, 3. That's right. And then, like I said, if you play it through a couple of times, go back and just end on the F sharp in the first bar. And I like to do a little slide up to that last one, which you can use instead of doing those long rolls or cuts. You can sometimes just slide up and just keep the long note. So as a little variation, instead of long rolling it, you could do this. Yeah, which I like to do sometimes. It just breaks things up a bit and adds a little bit more variation. So if we're going to do like a slide in the first bar of the second line, for instance, we could go. Now I like to do a cut slide on that. So I'm cutting and sliding. So pushing and lifting. You can pull and lift if you want. But again, it's something which you can practice. So you can decide if you'd like to put one of those cut slides in or just slide up to the note. So many different variations that you can add to this tune. And I will do right now, in fact, because I'm going to play it through with the short rolls, the cuts, the taps, the long rolls, and I will do maybe the odd slide or two. So I'm going to play it at 60, which is keeping it nice and steady so you can hear how this sounds. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Like I say, the ornamentation is up to you. Use as much or as little as you want. And again, it's worth practicing the ornamentation by maybe putting the first couple of bars on a loop. And especially if you want to practice the cuts and the taps. If you want to do it within the tune, I would take something like the first bar if I'm going to practice the short roll and the tap. The first bar on the second line and just put that on a loop. So you've got a short roll, a tap and a long roll, and we're joining them together, so you can just loop it. Slowly. Second bar. Then you can loop the two together. So that's basically a good way of practicing those ornaments. But yeah, tapping, cutting, rolling, and other ornaments, they require quite a bit of practice to get the right kind of feel and the right sound. So don't worry too much if you're hearing the note that you're cutting with or tapping with for now. It does take practice, but the idea is not to hear the notes, but to hear the rhythm. It's an interruption to the note which you're playing. So with the B, yeah. And same with the E. So with the taps, try and get that nice bounce off your finger, yeah? You're actually tapping the whistle. That's hence the name tap. Okay, so to finish off with, I'm going to play the butterfly. I'm going to throw in a few little variations of my own and a few little crans and a few little bits and pieces. But you give you an idea of the way that I play it and the flow that we want to try and achieve with that. So watch again with the breathing. I may, and certainly often do, just play the long note or just cut the note to grab a breath. So again, you don't have to do things en route exactly the same time. Here we go, butterfly. So I hope you found this this tune breakdown of the butterfly useful. Just to recap, with your breathing, do ensure that you don't displace the beat in any way. And you know, you can play at half the speed that I played it at. It's still a lovely tune. And oftentimes I like to play it at this speed. and it works beautifully at that speed too. Play it whichever way you want, at whatever speed you want, really. I mean, the idea is that the basic tune, the most important thing is to get the rhythm and the articulation nice and smoothly. Yeah, you don't have to put any real ornaments in, it's still a lovely tune. And as I've always said, with ornamentation, it's personal preference. Ornament it the way that you feel like, the way that you hear. The way that I broke it down with some of the ornaments that I use, use some of them. You know, you can use some of them and maybe try throwing them a few short rolls or a few long rolls in. Just decide where you'd like to put those ornaments in yourself. And yes, make this tune and each and every tune, make your own version. You don't want to slavishly copy another person's version, because that's their version. And you can take ideas and you can take take inspiration from other people's versions, but be yourself. Do what you like, make it your own version, and enjoy playing it. That's the most important thing. Right, that's about it with this tune breakdown. If you found this this tutorial, this breakdown useful or helpful, perhaps you could subscribe to the Whistleblowers channel. Any comments, please leave them in the comments down below. And if you've got any whistle playing friends or family or anyone really, just if you'd like to let them know about the Whistle Players YouTube channel, sorry, Whistleblowers YouTube channel, it's for whistle players. Pass it around. The more people we get, the more I can do these tune breakdowns. So if you've enjoyed it, subscribe. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again soon for another Whistleblowers either tune breakdown tutorial, or I might even do, in fact I am going to do very shortly, I'm going to do a review of MK whistles, which I have one of each. I've got one in every key, apart from I don't have the chameleon, but I could not justify throwing over £1,000 at a whistle at this time. But I will at some point very soon be doing a review of MK whistles and giving you my thoughts and opinions. Okay folks, see you all shortly, and goodbye for now.